You're back up.
So, I guess I was talking about when after the boat ride, Tacky and I, we were like being pulled into the disco scene.
Club 82.
So we went to Club 8. Tacky found the club, so we went down to. We did a bunch of acid. We were tripping balls, and we go to Club 82, and downstairs. I mean, I'm sure we shouldn't have, age-wise. There's no way we should have been there, but we went, and I was so fucking high. I literally never got off the wall. I don't think I was back against the wall, and you know, there was kind of a loungy area, like carpeted with booths and tables, and then there was a dance floor in the middle, and the DJ was behind the dance floor, and I was like directly opposite the DJ, but all the way against the wall, because there was a light show, and the dance floor was lighted, and I was just tripping out on the music, and the dancing, and the lights. I mean, I didn't need anything else. Tacky was a little more like, I don't know if he danced, but he wandered around, and he was doing his thing, but I was just like stuck on the wall. In fact, I was so high that I'm standing there, I'm kind of like just looking at the light show in the dance floor area, and off in my peripheral vision, there's like a little cluster of maybe 3 or 4 people here talking. Maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 feet away. I couldn't hear, it was too loud. But they were obviously together. And out of the corner of my eye, I see someone, boom. And I look over, and somebody is literally just fallen over. And I'm looking like, oh shit, were they on acid? And it made me so paranoid. And I must have looked so freaked out that somebody walked from ahead of me. They walked over to me. I'm looking at this person laying on the ground, and they asked me, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Why are you asking me?" I don't even think I said anything out loud, but I was just like, yeah. But it was a lot of fun. And so that day when we left there, because I think they closed at 4, Tacky and I walked home from the village. And I remember we were still tripping. And we got to a point in the village where West 4th Street and West 10th Street cross each other. And I was like, whoa! I'd never been to that corner.
Mind blown.
Hell yeah! Mine was blown. Anyway, yeah, that was fun. And then actually that winter, Tacky and I went to another disco in Midtown. And then the next summer, 76, there was another disco boat ride. Eddie band wasn't playing on it, but Tacky and I were like, yeah, we gotta go. And we went on that boat ride. And that's actually, I remember, that's when, even though the album had been out, but Mothership Connection was the big thing. And I remember up on the disco outdoor level, when they played fucking Tear the Roof Off the Sucker, I was gone. I was so absorbed by the music. It was great. So anyway, a year after that, or maybe it's in the spring of 77, Cisco, my good friend, told me he was going to go on a Saturday night. He was going down to this party in the village because there was this girl who I knew.
Watch my hand.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, you mean when?
Yeah, every once in a while. No, when you have look at the camera every once in a while.
Oh, okay. I know. I do tend to look off into the nowhere land.
Me too.
So, shall I go?
Yes. Go.
Cisco told me there was a girl he had such the hots for. This girl named Maria, who lived on 26th Street, who was very pretty. She was a big girl, but she had such a pretty face. And Cisco was like, "Yo, Maria's going to this party in the village, and I'm gonna go. Let's go, lads." I was like, "Cool, let's go." And we got some herb, we got some acid, and he said, "Yeah, the party starts at midnight, and it goes till whenever in the morning." I was like, "Cool." So we did some acid. We take the train down. We walk there. It's a block south of Houston on Mercer. Basically Prince and Mercer it's on. And we get there, and when we get there, I find out, well, you can't just go in. It's actually a private party. You have to have an invitation. But Cisco's like, no, I'll get us in. And so Cisco goes up to people, because there's clusters of people standing outside waiting to go in. They're probably waiting for people with an invitation, and Cisco goes up to everyone. Yo, you got room for 2 more? You got room for 2 more? No. 4 o'clock in the morning, we're still out there. We're laying on a car, up against the windshield. We're tripping, smoking a joint. I was like, hey, it's better than hanging in the new park. and then at like a little after 4, this couple comes walking around the corner from probably the R on Prince and Broadway, I guess. And Cisco runs up, and the guy is like, yeah, come on. He took us in. And that was my introduction to the Loft. And my life definitely changed that night. And
describe it.
Oh, man. So there's a guy named David Mancuso who lived in this loft. And he threw parties every Saturday night. Big parties. You could fit a few hundred people anyway. And it was invitation only, and he didn't call it a club. And it was not a membership card. It was an invitation. He was kind of a hippie, but he was a master of manipulating the mood of the people at the party. He knew what songs to play, and he wasn't a great technical DJ, but he knew the music, and he knew the people at his party. And this place was the most mixed, diverse crowd I had ever seen. And it was like, I walked in there, and you walked in through this, like, it looked like the back door to a restaurant's kitchen, with garbage cans by the door and unmarked door, 147 Mercer. And you went in, and the door, and standing in the door is this like 6'6" dude with a turban, an actual like Sikh or something, and his name was Sultan. At least that's what people called him. And he's the person that would make sure you had your invitation, and you'd go in. And so the guy brought me and Cisco, and we had to tell him our names because you weren't supposed to bring in people you didn't know. So we introduced each other, blah blah blah. Got in past Sultan. Then there's the membership desk where they check, check the member. You're the, these are your guests. We're cleared to go in. Walk down a flight of stairs, and to the side here was a bank teller window, like literally, and we the bars and everything. And there's this woman behind it, and there was it was $5.99 to get in. He charged $5.99. Started as rent parties, and I paid $5.99, and there was a pile of pennies there, and a little sign in front of it that said, "A penny saved is a penny earned." And I found out years later that the woman behind there, her name was Penny. Penelope. Anyway, so then you walk into the downstairs of the loft, which was a big room. There was kind of a coat check area, which, it was summer, but I couldn't understand why there was people checking shit in the summer. It's because people came there and changed clothes. Because people went there to dance, and I mean to sweat and work out. And I'm just like, I was in like shorts, I was in my normal summer gear. And Cisco and I go in, and downstairs I look around, and it's pretty, there's a dance floor, but it's pretty sparsely populated. People are just kind of standing around, smoking joints, passing around remember Locker Room and Rush? And there's a big bar, an actual wooden bar, and there was all kinds of snacks and drinks on it. Munchies and apple fruit, and they had just put out a big thing of mac and cheese, and big bowls of water and fruit punch, and I was digging it, but I was like, oh, cool. And there were couches at the far end, and people are just, it felt so relaxed. The difference between that and Club 82 was like night and day. And so then you go up another set of stairs, and you get to the main fucking party room. And you get up there, there's a hallway, whatever, but then you walk through this big archway, a double archway, and here's this big fucking room. And the music is blasting, but it was the best sound system I ever heard to this day. It was crystal clear. I was stunned at the the whole speaker setup was insane. This guy, David Mancuso, started a sound revolution in disco. That to this day, that's how they do sound pretty much. And I can't even describe it, because I walk into this room and it's pretty packed, and it's gay and straight and black and white and Latino and Asian, people dressed in everything from dress up to like nothing. And not literally nothing, but it felt like a really cool house party where I didn't know anyone, but it felt like everyone was immediately my friend. That's really what it felt like, because people were. It was such a positive and supportive atmosphere. I mean, people would standing, cheering each other on, dancing. Yeah, you go, girl. And he's talking to a guy, because it was very gay. There was a lot of gay people. David was gay, and but it was just so. The atmosphere blew my mind. I was shocked, and of course I started against the wall. That just kind of bopping to the music, watching the dancers, seeing how like nobody's doing the hustle. People are just moving freestyle. And the music, I was loving the music, and again, we got in after 4. By like probably 7 o'clock, I was dancing on the dance floor. And I had never danced in my life in front of anybody or anything. I wasn't dancing heavily. I was just kind of moving and bop, but I didn't feel self-conscious. It was by the time he stopped playing, of course, they had to kick my ass out. There were always like a few dozen people that were there till the bitter end. And Cisco and I were there, and then he opened, it's fucking daylight. It was probably 10 o'clock Sunday morning. And we were walking out, and I was like, Six, you better be back here with me next week, because I need to get in. And I was too shy to like just go up to people I didn't know and ask to get me in. So for many weeks, Cisco had to get me in. But anyway, that was the beginning of a new chapter in my life that is to this day the one I have the most fond memories of.
How did the Paradise Garage?
Okay, good question. So I started going to the loft in early April, because I remember. When Cisco told me about the party that we were going to go to, it was April Fool's Day, and he was goofing me that he was going, he and Maria were getting married, and that's what he first said. But then I realized it was April 1st and whatever. So then Cisco and I went several times, quite a few times, and then I think Cisco's brother Eddie started going, and then. Who else? A few other people from the neighborhood started going, and including Tacky. I finally got Tacky to go. And so Tacky, of course, fell in love with it. Well, in like August, Tacky tells me, yo, Laz, there's a place in the village too that's open Friday nights. Let's check it out. It's called The Garage. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And his birthday was September 1st. And so we were going to go for his birthday. I don't think his birthday was on a Friday, but it was that week. And so me and Tacky headed down to the garage, and it was kind of a similar scene outside. A lot of people waiting, but here it seemed like there was a bit more of like a line. It wasn't just clusters of people standing. There were clusters of people, but there was also like a line of people waiting to get in the front door. And Tacky's asking people who can get us in, and finally somebody said, well, I got room for 1. And Tacky said, you go, Laz. I'll get myself in. And I was like, yeah. And so we get on the line to get in the door. And we're standing there. It's going slowly. And like 10 minutes later, Tacky comes walking up with somebody else, and they go right to the door and in. So, but whoever it was somebody special. And so I got inside with Tacky, and actually Tacky was smart. So he had gotten the person that brought him in to sign him up for a membership right away.
Oh, okay.
And so I was like, who do I ask? And so I forget who I asked. Oh, I know who I asked. There was a guy who I knew from the loft. A very gay dude. Really good-looking black dude who was a model. Really gay. Did I say that? But he was so fucking cool. I really liked it.
Is this your transitioning?
That was the beginning of my transition. His name was Jimmy West, and he spelled it Jimi. And because I remember he gave me a business card, and it was Jimmy West. I forget what it said, what his title was. But anyway, he was in love with me and Cisco. He always was trying to get us to let him say he wants to suck our dick, whatever. And because of course he thought I was Puerto Rican, because by that time I was Puerto Rican, and so he would always, yo Larry, when you gonna let me suck that Puerto Rican bicho? I was like, not today, Jimmy, not today. But I remember one time at the loft, not to digress too much from the garage. This is when I knew that I had let go of all my inhibitions. The loft had, so it was a big room, high ceilings, and there were 4 big pillars, monster round pillars, kind of, and around the pillars were these big snake pillows. And somewhere near each one of those was kind of a small platform box, a wooden box, that people would like sit on to rest, or some people would get up on it and dance. Mm-hmm. And one time, I was up on that box by myself, dancing, mm-hmm. and I was working it. At least it felt like it. And Jimmy West comes walking up. I already knew him because he had gotten me into the loft several times by then. And Jimmy walks up with this gorgeous woman. And he's like, yo, can we get up there with you? I was like, hell yeah, come on. And the 2 of them got up, and the 3 of us danced. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was in ecstasy, I swear to God. And because first of all, that woman was so fucking gorgeous. And actually, there was one point at which I'm dancing with her, and he's behind me dancing on me, and I didn't even care. I was like, yeah, and I turned around and faced him, and it was the most liberating experience, kind of adapting to the loft. It was so liberating. And anyway, so now, I saw Jimmy West at the garage that first night, and I asked him if he could sign me up, if he was a member, and he was. And so he signed me up, and like 2 weeks later, I got my garage membership. Of course, I didn't have my loft invitation for another year. But anyway, so the garage, and at that time, the garage was completely under construction because they had big visions for this club. But at this point, there was this one room that was the party room. It was a big square, maybe, 75 feet on the side or maybe a little more. But it was like, there was nothing to it. There was no decor. It was like, and there was, against one wall was a horseshoe of, folding tables. And the DJ was set up behind there. He had his turntables and all his equipment. And of course I was tripping. And throughout the night, and I'm dancing, I'm like, yeah, I could get into this. It was very mixed. It was a little gayer than the loft, but it was still very mixed. And I danced with so many women that night. I was just like, yeah, this is the place. This is where I'm going to find my romance. But then I kept hearing people calling my name. And I was like, what the fuck? Turns out the DJ's name was Larry. And now he's probably the most famous DJ ever. His name is Larry Levan. He was like...
The DJ saved my life? No.
No. I don't know. Maybe they wrote that about him. But Tony would know he knew Larry Levan. And so yeah, anyway. So they had these... The parties were there, but there was this much bigger room that was completely... There were sawhorses and sawdust everywhere. And so we would, that's where we would go to, rest and, smoke and whatever. And for a while there, the garage was, and actually for a while, I did the garage Friday night and the loft on Saturday night. And I was still in high school. So I was like, and that's when somebody had turned me on to Black Beauties. So instead of, they're basically speed, 20 milligram biphenamine tab diet pills, like real diet pills. Because Fat Freddy from the New Park, I think, must have had a prescription because he used to sell them. And the first time I had a Black Beauty, it's like, I took that shit, an hour before midnight, before I would get there. I was fucking speeding until Sunday night. Like, it was serious. But I loved it because then now I just need a little pot. And I stopped doing acid for the most part because I didn't want to mix them. But I did more than my share of Black Beauties. And why'd I bring that up? Freddie, because Freddie, the first night at the garage, we saw Fat Freddie, LeBron, because Tacky saw him and whatever, and then I never saw. In fact, Fat Freddie is who got Tacky in.
Oh.
Now that I think of it. And that's who signed him up. Well, anyway, I never saw Freddie again the whole night. And I asked Tacky, I was like, have you seen Fred? He was like, I think it was Tacky that told me, I think he got kicked out because he was a drug seller. And that's one thing, both the loft and the garage, you could do whatever drugs you wanted, but don't sell them. Mm-hmm. And no alcohol and no selling of drugs. Mm-hmm. And he probably got busted selling drugs and got kicked out. But anyway, so yeah, the garage became my thing on Friday nights and Saturday nights, and then if you want to indulge me a little bit.
Yeah, sure. We have about 8 minutes left on this session. Might have been just after New Year's of 77 to 78, I guess. And the garage had closed, I think, in November, because now they were going to push to get the big room finished and to really open up. Because officially, I guess they weren't technically open, and they had no name yet. They called it the King Street Garage, and was it an actual parking?
Oh yeah, it used to be a parking garage. Where you walked in at the ground level, that was all big garage behind you. Then you turned around and walked up a ramp, that obviously where they drove up to the next level, and that became the famous ramp, the garage ramp, because they put lights on it, and that's where where you paid was at the top of that ramp.
Okay.
And so there'd always be a line at the ramp. Anyway,
was it during the week? It was a garage, and then on
no. At that point, it was no longer a garage.
Oh, okay.
And because they had bought it, and they were putting a lot of money into it, and so the big room was getting ready. So they closed down and said, "We will let you know when we're reopening." And so I was like, "Oh fuck, no more Friday nights." Because little point is, the garage was absolutely a gay club. But Saturday night was the main night. And so they opened up Friday night and they called it mixed night. And so that's when, because if you were straight, you couldn't get a membership to get in Saturday night. I mean, they were a little obnoxious about it.
So how did you get one?
I had to suck his dick. And so they were closed. So now it's the loft. And by now the loft was there were too many people from my neighborhood going there. One of the things that really I loved about the loft was here was a place that I felt so comfortable and so at home, and yet I knew nobody pretty much. And when more people I knew started going, it started feeling a little different. It's like I don't know. So anyway, we go in. We're going to the Cisco and I probably went together. This was in the winter, and we go in, and somebody, I think by that time I had enough balls to ask somebody to bring me in myself. And so I'm going in, Cisco is somewhere else. And we get in, we get past Sultan, and we get to where they check your card, and the person behind the desk took this guy's invitation and ripped it up. Said, sorry, you're no longer a member. You can try again and whenever, sometime in the future. And they were stunned. They were, what's going on? And they wouldn't fucking tell us why. And this was happening to a lot of people that night. Mm-hmm. A lot of people were losing their fucking invitations and getting kicked out, basically. So I'm back outside in front. Cisco is out a few minutes later, and I see a couple. Marilyn. There was a girl named Marilyn who used to go to the loft. That was my first loft wife. And Marilyn and her crew, I think she was gay. I never knew that for sure, but she was we danced together a lot. Mm-hmm. And Marilyn and her crew were outside, and me and Cisco, maybe a few other people, and we were like, shit, what are we gonna do now? It's Saturday. We don't have the loft. We were all addicted to the loft. Mm-hmm. And somebody said, well, there's this place up on 18th Street called the Inferno. Let's go check it out. And so a bunch of us called 3 cabs. We went up to 18th and 5th Avenue, and there was the Inferno, which was like a regular disco kind of. It had a bar, you know, 2 floors. And so we all went in. It was fucking empty. Like there was, there were probably less people there when we got there than the crowd that walked in. And we were like, damn, this is. But then, you know, the DJ started playing some decent music, and we're like, yeah. And I always loved having an empty dance floor because I got plenty of room. And so we got into it, and we were dancing 3, 2, and so the next week we go back. There's more people. Next week we go back, even more people. The 4th week, it was fucking packed. And I have no idea why. That's when I said, nah, I'm gonna go try to go back to the loft. And the next week I went back to the loft, and all the other loft folks didn't come back for another week or 2 later. And yeah, so maybe that's the place to wrap it for now.
Okay.
I don't know.
Sounds good.